Now we're going to read some of the things from the Quran with regards to giving. The first emphasis will be in Surah Al-Baqarah, verses 1 through 3, but the emphasis is on ayat number 3. Again, these are just ayats with regards to the encouragement of spending and giving from your wealth, being charitable, helping others out. Okay? From the Quran. So again, chapter 2, verse 1 through 3. We'll start with verse 1. A'udhu billahi min shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. The first ayat is Alif Lam Mim. Okay? These ayats don't mean nothing. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what these ayats mean. We cannot come up with our own conjecture as to what Alif Lam Mim means. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not give us an explanation of these ayats or these letters, what it means. So therefore we cannot use conjecture. Well, I think Alif Lam Mim means the A stands for this and L means this and Mim could it mean that? We can't do that in Islam. Because in chapter 16, verse 44, and chapter 16, verse 64, Allah says that the only person that can interpret the Quran is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the only interpreter of Quran Q is Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the only one that can explain the Quran, you can't read the Quran and be like, well, I think it means this. Well, could it mean this? Well, you know, in my understanding, well, I think it means this. You don't have that authority. You do not have that right to try to interpret the Quran. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in hadith that he who makes an interpretation of the Quran that I have not sanctioned, let that person reserve a seat in the hellfire. Translate something in the Quran and come with your own interpretation, and it wasn't the interpretation of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or it wasn't the interpretation of the Sahabas who got it from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, get ready and reserve yourself a seat in the hellfire for playing and lying. Allah said that who is more worse than he who lies about his revelations? You can't lie on his revelation. So the only one that can interpret the Quran or any verses of the Quran is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I can't take the ayah and say, well, you know what? As I was thinking and I was sitting by myself contemplating, I came up with this idea that this means this. You can't do that in Islam. Again, the dalil for that, or the evidence of this, is in chapter 16, verse 44, chapter 16, verse 64. The only one that can interpret the Quran is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How do we know? Well, some may say that the Prophet Muhammad, he made that up, or he came up with his own conjecture. We say no, that's not true, because Allah says in the Quran, in chapter 53, verse 2 through 4, Allah says that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's not majnoon, he's not crazy, he hasn't went astray, nor does he speak on his own accord, but everything that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam speaks, it is a revelation that is revealed to him. So everything that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, it is a revelation that is revealed to him. Right? Revelation revealed to him. Right? You guys can check these ayats out, inshallah. So again, the only one that can interpret the Quran is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Everything that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said is a revelation that was revealed to him. He didn't just speak out the side of his neck. He didn't get it out of a crackerjack box. Okay? The jinns didn't tell him this. The angel Jibreel alayhi salam came with the revelation and told him its meaning. Okay? Now going back to chapter 2, verse 1 through 3. Again, A'udhu billahi min shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. The first ayat, Alif Lam Mim. Don't have no meaning. Don't try to find no meaning. Don't try to guess. Don't try to interpretate. If you don't find nothing in the hadith with regards to this meaning, then leave it alone. Okay? And to this day, we haven't found any interpretations of it. So guess what? We're going to leave it alone. Alif Lam Mim. That's all it is. Verse number 2. Allah says, this is the book, meaning the Quran, wherein there is no doubt. So Allah is saying that you better not doubt anything in this Quran. There was nothing wrong in this Quran. If you doubt anything in this Quran, you fall out of the realm of Islam. Let me say that again. If you doubt anything in the Quran, whatever it may be, whether it's a miracle or whatever it may be, a story, then you fall out of the realm of Islam. Doubt something in the Quran. I don't know about that. When that's said, I don't know. Okay, then you are not a Muslim. Allah says, this is the book wherein there is no doubt. It is the guidance for those who have taqwa. A guidance for those who have taqwa. So if you're striving to be of those who have taqwa, the muttaqeen, this is a guidance for you. If you're not striving to be of those who fear Allah, you're not striving to be of those who protect themselves from Allah's wrath. If you're not of those who are striving to protect themselves from shaitan's tricks, then this book ain't for you. You're not of the muttaqeen. But if you're striving to have these qualities, then this book is a guidance for you and it will guide you. This is the book, the Quran, wherein there is no doubt, a guidance for those who are muttaqeen, those who fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Verse 3. And Allah is now describing who the muttaqeen are. Those who have taqwa. Those who will be guided by this. He said those who believe in the ghaib, meaning that they believe in the unseen. So those who will be guided by this Quran, those who are of the muttaqeen, those who have taqwa, are those who believe in the unseen. Whatever that may be. Heaven, hell, paradise, the grave, the angels, the jinns, right? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because we don't see him. Okay? So he's unseen. We believe in the punishments of the grave, the punishments of the hellfire, right? Even though we can't see it, but we believe in it. This is belief in the unseen. So these are the ones who will have taqwa. These are the ones who really believe, right? Because if you believe in the unseen, that means you believe in the hellfire. So if you believe in the hellfire, that means that you will do things that will prevent you from being thrown into the hellfire. If you don't believe in the hellfire, that means you don't fear it. You don't believe in it, you're not going to fear it. So therefore you do things that show that you don't fear the hellfire. Those who believe in the unseen and perform the salah. So again, those who have taqwa, those who have iman, those who will be guided by the Quran, are those who do the salah. Those who pray. If you're not one of those who pray, then you won't be of those who get any guidance from the Quran. Right? You don't establish the prayer in your home, with your children, with your wife. You didn't establish the prayer. You ain't making the adhan. You ain't doing wudu properly. You don't care about wudu. You're not doing ghusl. Then you will not be guided by the Quran. Allah is describing those who will be guided by the Quran. They believe in the unseen and they do the salah. They establish the prayer with themselves, with their children, with their wives, in their home, in the masjid, etc. Right? And they spend out of what we have provided for them, i.e. zakah. And they spend out of what we have provided for them. And this is the emphasis on what we're talking about. Those who pay the zakah. Right? Or even the sadaqah. Right? These are the ones who have taqwa. These are the ones who have taqwa. These are the ones who will have the huda. Huda means guidance from Allah. You see how this stuff rhymes? Taqwa, huda. Right? Those who have guidance, those who have taqwa, those who believe in the unseen. So those who will have taqwa, those who have huda, those who have guidance from the Quran, are those who believe in the unseen, those who make the salah, and those who pay the zakah or sadaqah. Okay? So that's what we're talking about. Or today the emphasis was on zakah. So the reason why I showed you this ayah is to show you that part of taqwa, or part of being of those who are guided by the Quran, are those who pay the zakat or those who pay the sadaqah. They give from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them. They share it. They don't hoard it. They're not greedy. Right? They don't pile up stuff. They give it. This is a sign of Iman. This is a sign of taqwa. This is a sign of those who will be guided with the huda, inshallah. Okay? So this is in chapter 2, verse 1 through 3. Okay? Another ayat, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking about the zakat or paying money. We'll go to chapter 23. Okay? So chapter 23 is called Surah Al-Mu'mineen, meaning the surah of the believers. Mu'mineen. Okay? Now, if we're striving to be of the Mu'mineen, Mu'mineen mean those who have Iman, those who have faith, those who will follow this faith with Amal. Amal means what? Actions. Come on now. So if this is the surah of the Mu'mineen, this is the surah of the believers. So it's describing the characteristics of the believers. And surely we want to be of the believers because the Mu'mineen, these are the ones who are saved from Adabul Nar wa Adabul Jahim. Jahim, right? I ain't talking about the singer. The word Jahim means hellfire. Why would somebody call himself hellfire? Y'all heard of the singer Jahim? He named himself hellfire. Who gonna call himself hellfire? No. But if you don't know, you're like, oh, Jahim. You might name yourself Jahim. You don't even know. But Jahim means hellfire. But the Mu'mineen are those who will be saved from Adabul Nar, the punishment of the fire, Adabul Jahim, the blazing fire. Okay? These are the ones who will be saved from this. There's a higher level of the Muslimin. These are just the Muslims. You took the Shahada, you're a Muslim, right? You could be a Muslim, but you might not even follow with no type of action. You're just a Muslim. You're the Muslimin. That just means that you'll be taken out of the hellfire one day, but you still could go to the hellfire. I don't want to go to the hellfire for a hot second. Nobody should want to go to the hellfire for a hot second. So we want to strive to be of the Mu'mineen. This is the higher level. We got Muslimin, Mu'mineen, and then the highest level is the Muhsineen. This is the highest level. This is where you have Ihsan. Ihsan. This is the highest level. These are the Mujahideen. These are the Shuhada. Those who put their life on the line. They died in the cause of Allah. That's a higher level. That's a higher level. So these are the three levels. As the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told us, the Muslimin, the Mu'mineen, and the Muhsineen. Ashabul Yamin was Sabiqeen. Surah Al-Waqi'ah. Right? Ashabul Yamin, get the book of deeds in their right hand. The Sabiqeen, these are the foremost in the deen. These are the foremost, the forerunners, front line. Mujahideen, the martyrs. Okay? We'll talk about that another day though. But we're talking about the Mu'mineen, Surah Al-Mu'mineen, chapter 23. Surah Al-Mu'mineen. And surely we want to be of the Mu'mineen. Chapter 23, verse 1 through 4, emphasis on number 4. But since we're talking about the Mu'mineen, we're going to read all the way to verse 11. So chapter 23, verse 1 through 11. But the emphasis is on number 4. Okay? But since we want to know what are the characteristics of the Mu'mineen, let's talk about it a little bit. Because surely we want to be of the Mu'mineen. We want to know what are the characteristics of the Mu'mineen. Because I don't want to go to the Jahim. Right? We don't want to go to the Jahim, right? Hellfire, right? So we want to know what are the characteristics of the Mu'mineen. We say, Allah, blessed be among the Mu'mineen. Ameen. So we're going to chapter 23. And as we describe the characteristics of the Mu'mineen, we're going to jot it down. Alright? Surah Al-Mu'mineen. This is your Quran. This is your book, right? We're Muslims. So we should know that chapter 23 is the Surah of the Mu'mineen. And if we're striving to be of the Mu'mineen, If we're striving to be of the mu'mineen, then inshallah we will pay attention to these ayahs, to these verses. Okay? Now we'll begin. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. And whenever you recite the Quran, you always begin with A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Not Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, but you always begin with A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Where's the evidence for that at? Chapter 16, verse 98. So chapter 16, verse 98, again, we know it by heart. We ain't got to flip through the pages and find out. We know it's chapter 16, verse 98, because this is something that we must do before we recite the Quran. Now, if this is something that I know I'm commanded to do, I better know where it's at in the Quran, so I can tell somebody. If I tell somebody, man, you got to say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem before you recite the Quran, I better have that ayah. I better have that chapter memorized before I even open my mouth. I'm going to say, well, where's that? Well, let me get back with you, sister. Let me find. I know it's in here somewhere. You don't want to be doing that. You want to go straight to it. So again, chapter 16, verse 98. So again, highlight it, asterisk it, right? Underline it, right? Or memorize it. Okay? Inshallah. So chapter 16, verse 98 says, and I quote, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. And when you recite the Quran, seek refuge with Allah from shaitan, the outcasted. Okay? When you recite the Quran, we seek refuge in Allah from shaitan, the accursed. Chapter 16, verse 98. And in the Arabic it says, chapter 16, verse 98. Because we just went over this with those who were in the Arabic class on Wednesday. We just went over this. Allah states, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. فَإِذَا قَرَأْتُ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. So seek refuge in Allah from the shaitan al-rajim. So we say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, as Allah commanded us in the Quran. Okay? This is a commandment from Allah. Allah didn't say, well, if you feel like it, or if you're okay with it. He said, but when you recite the Quran, say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Okay? Chapter 16, verse 98. So now we're in chapter 23. We're describing the characteristics of the mu'mineen, because chapter 23 is the surah or the chapter of the mu'mineen. So Allah states, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Successful indeed are the believers. So again, the first ayat, Allah tells us straight off the bat, the most successful in the sight of Allah are the mu'mineen. So the mu'mineen are successful. Right? And the mu'mineen are those what? Who follow the iman with amal. Meaning they work. They do the actions. We ain't just talking about it, we being about it. So Allah says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Indeed, the most successful are those who will be victorious, are the mu'mineen. Those who follow this deen with some type of action. These are the mu'mineen. Straight up, first ayah. The most successful, those who will find a way out, are the mu'mineen. Number two, those who offer their prayers with sincerity and submission. They are the khashi'een. الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Alright? So he said that they do their prayers with khasha'ah. Their prayers with humbleness. Khasha'ah. I'm going to use an Arabic word. Khasha'ah. With humbleness. With humbleness. In awe. And in fear. Right? الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Khashi'un means that you do it in awe. You do it with fear. You do it with all the tenets that are supposed to be done. You don't manipulate your salat. Right? You're in your salat and you keep your eyes at the place of khasha'ah, humbleness. You don't look from here to there. That's not khasha'ah. That's not making your salat with humbleness. So Allah is describing again the mu'mineen. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Those who make their salat with khasha'ah. They're humble. They're in fear of their prayer. They don't move. They don't look from side to side. They don't rush it. Right? They take their time in it. They don't try to. That's not khasha'ah. That's not making your salat with humbleness and fear or in awe. Okay? So, successful indeed are the believers, those who offer their prayers with khasha'ah, they are humble. And number 3, those who turn away from lagwa, meaning dirty, false, evil, vain talk, falsehood, and all that Allah has forbidden. And those who stay away from lagwa. Lagwa means gossip. Stay away from lagwa. This means gossip, backbiting, slander, cussing, calling people nicknames, right? Or fruitless talk. Talking about stuff that don't mean about nothing. Ain't got nothing to do about nothing. Fruitless. Just a bunch of stupid stuff. Garbage. Lagwa. So another part of having iman is that if you ain't got nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all. Don't just be sitting there talking about, man, and she said, man, ha ha, ooh, gossiping, backbiting, slandering, just cussing, nicknaming, fruitless talk. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in hadith that if you're having a conversation and out of the whole conversation you do not glorify Allah, you do not praise Allah, your conversation is as if you talked around a dead donkey. Y'all was sitting around talking like around a dead donkey, meaning it was booba, stinky. Right? So you better, if you're having a conversation, you better be pleasing Allah, you better be glorifying Allah, you better be dhikring Allah, or otherwise, what was your conversation about? What was you talking about? Was it fruitless? Was it gossip? Was it backbiting? Was it slander? Was it just running your mouth? Right? If it was, that is not the characteristic of the mu'mineen. So the believer is one who keeps quiet. If you ain't got nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all. Just talking all day. Right? Like somebody on the phone talking all day. Just talking. Yeah, and he said, and she said, and they said, and yeah, or cussing. We're striving to be the mu'mineen, right? So if we want to be the mu'mineen, those who say from adab an-nar, adab al-jahim, then we try to implement these characteristics into our life. It doesn't mean that we're bad people. It means that we just need to step it up a little bit. We got to do a little bit better. Right? Now we know what some of the characteristics of the mu'mineen are. We have to try to inculcate those characteristics into our life. Stay away from the gossip, just running your mouth. Stay away from backbiting, talking about people. Stay away from slandering. Well, I don't like her or I don't like him, so I'm going to tell this person, don't like them or don't like them because I don't like them. So again, they stay away from lagwa or lagwi. Okay? This is the characteristics of the mu'mineen. And number 4, and those who pay the zakah. Okay? That's why we're talking about this, because we were talking about the subject matter of zakah. So this is a characteristic of the mu'mineen. The 4, meaning they pay the zakah. Right? Or they purify their money. They purify their money. How do they purify their money? They purify their money by paying the zakah. They purify their money by paying the zakah. And if you pay the zakah, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not question you about the rest of the money or what you did with it. Continuing. Number 5. And those who guard their chastity, i.e. the private parts, from illegal sexual acts. So those who guard their privacy, i.e. stay away from zina. Zina, fornication, adultery. Right? Or anything that leads to that. Okay? Not just those things, doing those things, but anything that leads to it. That could include porn, nightclubs, right? Watching rated R movies, rated X movies, listening to certain songs that advocate this, right? Lollipop, whatever it may be. Because these are the things that will lead to these things, because it goes into your brain. It goes into your eardrum. Right? And one of the scholars said that music affects your heart like alcohol affects your mind. Music, you get drunk with it. You get to dance in a certain way and everything. You hear something, you get to breaking it down and start doing like Beyonce and everything. All because you heard a song. You weren't even thinking about nothing else, but you heard that song. You get to doing the butterfly, whatever they got, Tootsie Roll, whatever, because of a song. Right? They asked Shaitan, how do you call people to your deen? How do you give dawah to the people? Yeah, I use music. I use music to call them to what I want them to get to. I use these shayateen. I use Rihanna. I use Beyonce. I use Sierra. I use Lil Wayne. I use Jay-Z. I use Snoop Doggy Dogg. I use all these people to call you to do certain things. Now you have turned these people into gods. You call them divas. Diva means a female goddess. Tupac, and it's not Tupac, but Eminem, he called himself the rap god. That's one song. He got a new song called The Rap God. So he called himself a god. Lil Wayne called himself God. He called himself Allah. They got another rap, he called himself God. Somebody's, I don't know his name, I forget his name. But we got to understand that even to stay away from certain things that will lead to these things, that will lead to illicit acts. Anything that can lead to this, we stay away from it. Nightclubs, books, right? Certain books that lead to it, they talk about, and this and that, and they got these sexual books. Whatever it may be that can lead to zina, that can lead to fornication and adultery, we guard ourselves from that. We guard our private parts. Also, that means for the sisters that they wear the hijab. They guard themselves. With the hijab, you guard your private parts. The private part for the sister, that everything's covered except the face and the hands. Your feet got to be covered too. Your ears got to be covered too. You guard your private parts. This is a form of iman. This is a description of the mu'mineen. Number 6, Allah says, except from their wives or their right-hand possessions, for them they are free from blame. So he says, you stay away from these things, except from your wives, right, or your right-hand possessions. Now, the right-hand possession, this is in the time of jihad, or in a time of war, and I'm not going to stutter on this. In a time of war, if you capture a city, the women become your right-hand possessions. They become your property. They become your property, and you can have sex with your female slave. But we'll talk about that another day. Okay? This is in a time of jihad. You fight jihad, right? The Muslims, they fight jihad. They capture the city, they kill the men, and they keep the women. They divide the women amongst the mujahideen, and they become their right-hand possessions. You don't have to marry her. After you make sure that she has her menses, that she's not pregnant, you can sleep with her. She becomes your right-hand possession. She becomes your concubine. I'm not stuttering. This is the deen. This right here, if you don't even understand Tawheed, you don't understand Salat yet, you don't understand Tawakkul at Allah and judging by only Allah's book, you ain't even going to understand this yet. You ain't ready for that yet. You ain't ready to do backflips yet. You still got to stand in front of them and get back in the horse stance. You ain't going to understand that yet. Okay? So guard your private parts against these things except your wives or your right-hand possessions. Okay? One day, inshallah, I'll read about this in the Muwatta Imam Malik. Okay, but this is part of the deen, but we're not fighting jihad here, so you can't have, there's some people in this society that say, well, she's my right-hand possession. Man, stop it. Knock it off, man. This is just because people here, they want to have girlfriends here in America. Y'all hear some of the cats, some of the brothers here, well, she's my right-hand possession, and she's my concubine here. Man, did you busting a grape? Did you capture her in jihad? Then stop playing. Stop it. Ain't no boyfriends and girlfriends or girlfriends and boyfriends in Islam. This is only in the time of jihad, and you wage jihad. And we ain't talking about no secret jihad that you say, yeah, I declare jihad, but you ain't told nobody. You doing jihad in your own mind, right? So you want to have a girlfriend. So, but that's a whole nother subject, okay? Verse number 7, but whoever seeks beyond that, then they are the transgressors, right? Number 8, and those who are faithfully true to their amanah, meaning they keep their word. So, number 7, they keep their word, they keep their promises. Keep their word. Or say trustworthy, truthful, right? You don't lie. Somebody offers you a trust, or they tell you, man, don't tell nobody, or keep this trust, and you hold on to your word. You keep your word. You don't break your promise. You tell somebody you're going to do something, you keep that, right? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, one of the characteristics of the Munaafiqeen, not the Mu'mineen. So we have Munaafiqeen. Munaafiqeen. These are the hypocrites. Okay? So the opposite of the Mu'mineen, because the Mu'mineen, they keep their word, they keep their promise, they know how to hold water. They don't tell what people tell them to hold and what they tell them to hold dear to them. Right? The opposite of that of the Munaafiqeen, that the Prophet Muhammad said that the characteristic of a Munaafiqeen, that when they're entrusted with something, they break their trust, or they break their promises. They break their promises. Break their promises, meaning that their word is boo-boo. Right? Your word is boo-boo. I can't trust you. You lie. These are the characteristics of the Munaafiqeen. They lie. Another characteristic of the Munaafiqeen, it says that when you argue with them, they become the worst of quarrelers. They're the ones that go far beyond. Man, they want to just argue with you and tear stuff up. This is a sign of the Munaafiqeen. Those who transgress with regards to keeping their word. Not transgressors. But those who transgress the bounds with regards to keeping their promises or holding fast to their trust. Right? They're given a covenant from somebody like, look, man, I need you to hold this. Watch this for me. And he is one who doesn't do that. He violated his trust. Right? Or one who lies. This is a characteristic of a munafiq. Lying. Okay? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that a person will continue to lie until it is branded on him that he's a liar, and the only thing that he can do is a liar. Like some people, they're habitual liars. They can't even help it. Right? What is that? No, they just can't even help it. Because they've been lying so much that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has branded them as a liar. And it says on the day of judgment that they will have a pole sticking out their anus. It's in the hadith. Go read in the tafsir. Under chapter 23. He said a person will continue to lie, that Allah will brand them as a liar. And on the day of judgment, they will have a pole. A flag with a flag at the end of it that says, I'm a liar. Sticking out of his anus, out of his butt. This is in hadith. That will be everybody will know on the Yom Qiyamah that you were a liar. Here's a liar. Look at him. Got the pole sticking out of his butt with a flag on it saying, I'm a liar. Yeah, it sounds funny, huh? That's real, though. So if you don't want that pole, with that flag on it in front of everybody on the day of judgment, when he said everybody be sitting there butt naked, then don't lie. Don't lie. I'm not stuttering. I'm not laughing. That's a real idea. So one thing that a Muslim can be many things, but the one thing that a Muslim is not is a liar. We don't lie. And the last characteristic is with regards to these 11 ayats. Verse 9, Allah says, and those who strictly guard their 5 compulsory prayers at their fixed times. So another characteristic of the mu'mineen, right, and those who guard their prayers, right? They're not derelict on their prayers. They're not lazy with their prayers. Oh, it's time for something. Man, I went to sleep. Oh, well, I didn't care. Did you make your salat? Yeah, and they lying. You didn't guard your prayers? You didn't do your 5 within the 24 hours? Right? It was too much for you to do that 5. You got 24 hours out of the day. You couldn't do them prayers in 2 minutes? You couldn't do Maghrib? 2 minutes, 3 minutes? Right? Let's say 5 times. Let's say the prayer took 4 minutes. 5 times 4 is 20. 20 minutes out the day out of 24 hours, you couldn't do your prayers. It was just so hard to do your prayers. But talk about Xbox and stuff. You can play Xbox for 3 hours straight. You can watch a movie for 4 hours straight. But you can't do your salat. So, sign of the mu'mineen is those who guard their prayer. They own it. They don't want it to go. Fajr comes, they up. They ain't just... They still ain't in the bed talking about Alberti olives. Just sleeping. Right? Calgon, take me away. Right? I can't get up. Give me a minute. The believer, he gonna get up. Boop. Right? Because he knows that the characteristic of the believer is one who guards his prayers. And the best prayer is the one that's on time, at its earliest time. But the opposite of the mu'mineen is the Munaafiqeen, those who don't guard their prayers. Those who don't care about their prayers. Those who just go the whole day and don't even care. We talked about that last week, right? About one of the punishments of those who don't do their 5 prayers. What? They're going to get hit with a boulder on their head for not doing their prayers. What's the 2 hardest prayers for the munafiqs? Fajr and Isha. Fajr and Isha. Right? The morning prayer and the one right before you go to sleep. Right? Say, oh man, I'm tired, man. You don't even want to do your prayer. You're tired. You've been going all day running around doing this and that. Now it's time to do Isha prayer. You too tired to make Isha. That don't even make no sense. Riding around for hours, right? Watching TV, talking, maybe even gossiping for hours. I'm just giving a scenario. But now it's time for Isha. I'm tired. I can't do it. Give me a minute. But you've been talking for 3 hours. You've been riding around for hours. You've been watching TV for hours. You've been playing Xbox for hours. So that's what Allah gonna say, man. What? You didn't have time for me? I'm the one that gave you your heartbeat. I got you even with the ability to watch or talk and all these other things, but you can't take 4 minutes out the day to pray to me. These are the characteristics of the mu'mineen. They guard their prayers. Okay? So I just wanted to go over that. Although today we were talking about zakat. Right? But in going over the zakat, we find out all these other things with taqwa and falah. Right? Qad aflaha al-mu'minun. Indeed, successful. Those who find a way out, those who will be victorious, are those who have iman, those who are the mu'mineen. And we want to know what the characteristic of the mu'mineen is. Let's go through this one more time. Verse 2, those who offer their prayers with humbleness. They're humble in their prayers. They ain't moving. They ain't doing that. They like this. They ain't moving. Eyes on the ground. Right? I don't care what's going on over there, man. I'm not moving. There's a hadith with regards to one of the Sahabas, Ali, radiallahu an, that he was so concentrated in his prayer that they shot him with an arrow and it hit him in his ankle and he still didn't move. He still stayed in He was so concentrated in his salat because he knows that he's in communication with his Lord. Man, this is my time to tap back into my Lord. I'm asking him for whatever it is I want to ask him. I'm asking for forgiveness. I'm asking him to give me another day, man. Help me get it right this time because I know I'm daif. Right? Another Sahaba, Umar, radiallahu an, he got stabbed during the prayer to the point he said his intestines came out. He finished the salat. He didn't break salat. Oh man, who did that? No, he said he continued his salat, did taslim now. Then he died. But he didn't even move in the salat. That's how his concentration was. So we got to try to be like them. Verse 3, and those who turn away from lagwa, those who turn away from vain talk, fruitless talk, gossip, cussing, things that don't have no merit, slander, backbiting, etc. Number 4, those who pay the zakat, those who purify their money, they pay it once a year. We already talked about that. Verse 5, and those who guard their chastity, the men and the women, they lower their gaze, they cover their private parts, they wear hijab like they're supposed to, The men, we don't wear tight jeans. The Duke shoot showing. Right? We wear belts. We don't sag. Right? Or any acts that lead to that. Fornication, adultery. Number 6, except those who are wives or right-hand possessions. We talked about that, but we'll talk about that another day. Verse 7, but whoever seeks beyond them, they are transgressors, meaning you seek beyond your wives. You seek beyond the right-hand possessions. You got a girlfriend or something. Verse 8, and those who are faithfully true to their amana, meaning they guard their covenants. They keep their word. They keep their promise. They don't lie. Okay? This is also characteristics of the believer. They don't lie. They keep their word. But the quality or characteristic of the Munaafiqeen, they break their promises. They lie. Verse 9, and those who strictly guard their prayers at the fixed time. Right? Fajr comes in at a certain time. It's over at a certain time. You can't pray Fajr when you want to pray. Well, I'll just make it when I get up. Some people don't get up till 9, 10 o'clock. Still in the bed, farting and pooting. I'm just trying to make it sound funny. Alright? Still farting and pooting, letting shaitan piss in your ear. That's what it said, right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, those who don't get up for Fajr, what happens? Say shaitan urinates in your ear. That's why people get up. Man, they lethargic, they angry and stuff. Why? Because shaitan pissed in their ear. They wonder why they, moving slow. But those who get up in the morning, they make wudu, they say la ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, they go make wudu, they make fajr, they up all day. Right? Early bird gets the worm. Early bird gets the worm, right? We up before daybreak. That's what fajr means. Fajr means daybreak. So see, these are some of the characteristics of the mu'mineen. And we strive to keep these characteristics of the mu'mineen, because the opposite are the characteristics of the munafiqeen. Those who are hypocrites. And we don't want to be the hypocrites, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that the hypocrites will be in the lowest of the low. They'll be in the lowest of the jahim. They'll be in the lowest of the hellfire. Okay? So we don't want no characteristics of nifaq. Nifaq means hypocrisy. So if he said that breaking your promise is a sign of nifaq, I don't want to break my promise. If lying is a sign of nifaq, I don't want to be a liar. Right? They said the one who quarrels the most, he's the most quarrelsome and acts bad when they argue, flipping stuff over. I don't want to do that. These are characteristics of munafiqeen. And he said the one who has all of the characteristics, he's a stone cold hypocrite. But if you have one of the characteristics, you have a sign or a characteristic of a nifaq. And you try to deal with that, try to correct that. Okay? You guys got this? Okay.